What is good, my people? We are live back again on the forecast. I'm gonna give the people a minute to get it in here. Yeah, wanted to come back and talk to the people about what's going on. Yeah, make sure y'all subscribe to the backup channel, the Forecast Radio 24. There will be a new show coming up today. YouTube has taken down a couple of my videos, and they may take down this one. So I'm going to live premiere it. So make sure y'all subscribe to the backup channel. It's in the description. Just type in the Forecast Radio 24, and that's it. Should be up in another. By the time we end the show, we can go right over there. Yeah, but it's been a couple of things in the news that we need to talk about. Definitely, I'm definitely back. And by the way, shout out to Wanda Chavis. She always show love. I gotta shout out that sister. Hopefully, if you listening, you can call in or whatever. But that sister always show me love. I gotta show her love. So shout out to Wanda Chavis. But yeah, the new video will be up in a few. So make sure y'all go to the Forecast Radio 24 to subscribe to that, and make sure you watch it. YouTube has taken down a couple of my videos, so the last couple of videos I did, I'm pretty sure they're gonna take down this one too. So you want to catch the live premiere, which is gonna be on right after this live. So I'm not gonna be on here that long, so we can go check out the live before YouTube try to delete the video. But shout out to the people. I wanted to come on and highlight y'all about the stuff that's been going on. I see today everybody been trying to get on Ice Cube or whatever about what he said about the Democratic Party. And before we go really in, I'm gonna give it a second to let people come in. I know the notifications don't work like they're supposed to. YouTube has really been hating on my channel, but we back, and we definitely gonna make it work. But anyway, everybody been mad at Ice Cube for just not jumping on the Democratic bandwagon, siding with Joe Biden, which doesn't really make sense. And honestly, I'm really getting tired of the talking point that if you don't support Joe Biden, then you're a Trump supporter, right? And people say that to try to shame you, but in reality, only one the person who says that is the only person that is pushing a racist candidate, telling you to vote for somebody racist. It's not the person saying You know, look at what Joe Biden has done. That's not the person who's pushing a racist candidate down your throat. Now, Ice Cube said he had a plan for Black Americans, and he's absolutely right. All of this people of color stuff, and we know this by now. It's just that we're afraid to actually step out on our own. We don't have confidence in ourselves enough to step out on our own. And we know this whole people of color is nothing but a scheme, but people still push it down your throat. And anybody criticizing Ice Cube, the truth is, anybody still pushing the Democratic Party on you, either they're not aware enough for you to even be listening to in the first place, or you need to be looking at them like they're suspect because they obviously have something personal to gain. Now, it's no secret that the Democratic Party has never been a friend to us. Right? LBJ said, I'll have them niggas voting Democrat for 200 years, and damn if it ain't been 60. And especially a certain generation of Black people is pushing it down our throat that we gotta vote Democrat. It don't even matter who the candidate is. Every election is the most important election of our lifetime. Now, they're not going to actually promise us anything. We have to wait on that part, right? We've been having to wait on that part since what, 1865? Well, let's say 1875, because we had what, 10 good years of Reconstruction, right? Where we had Black candidates elected. But eventually they burnt that down. They ran those people out of town with the Redeemer governments. So now we just gotta go along to get along. And that's what you're telling us to do, to go along just to get along. Right? And if you want to say I'm questioning Joe Biden is nothing but supporting Trump, well, you know what? If Hillary Clinton had gotten arrested, would there have been this movement where the NBA got Black Lives Matter on the court if Hillary Clinton was the president as opposed to Donald Trump? So now maybe y'all are willing to get up and do something. But the sad part is we aren't willing to fight back until the president targets everybody, not just us. What's going on, Eternal Element? Right? The president targeting everybody, not just us. And now, all of a sudden, we have the courage to stand up for ourselves. Because, quote unquote, people of color are being targeted. Well, you know what? I can speak personally for my life. It's been the same Democratic, Republican, whatever. Now, in the first Obama election, I never voted for president before. And honestly, I would say today I should have voted for Obama the first time just for the culture, right? Just because. But it wasn't because I thought he was going to change anything. Because what America does, it gives a symbol, but never anything tangible. Obama is a symbol. And symbols can be a powerful thing, can be a good thing if you use them for what they're for. It could be a symbol of power, or it can be a symbol of complacency. And right now is a symbol of complacency, right? Because think about it. If you are Obama, would you nominate somebody who said you were the first clean Negro that he has ever seen who could be in that position, right? Over what, 40, 30 or 40 years? And this is the guy you picked as your vice president, and we don't find that questionable? But we're just so eager and willing to be a part of that system. Do you know why they have the every 25 years they got to vote whether we can still vote or not? It's because when we start becoming politically aware, they're going to take that vote, right to vote away. But as long as we're saying, well, we can wait on what we need, we just got to get Donald Trump out of office, right? They know we're not politically aware enough, so we can still have the right to vote. But what good is the right to vote if it don't get you nothing? That is no right to that. And people love to say, well, your ancestors died for the right to vote. No, that's not true. They were killed while they were trying to vote, right? And when they realized they were getting killed, many of them stopped, but some of them did continue to go vote to stand up for themselves. But if you want to say anything, they didn't die to vote between which kind of racism they like. They voted to have their own representation, right? When we talk about voting, creating an organization where we vote on people who are in charge of funding and growing black businesses, that is vote or die. If we're voting between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, we're voting on how we rather would die. Would we rather die with the person smiling at us, right? Saying, I'm just gonna poison you slowly, or would we rather die by the person that's just gonna flat out lynch us? Well, the person that's gonna flat out lynch you, you know where they're coming from, and maybe you got a chance to defend yourself. The person that's poisoning you, the sick part is you know that they're poisoning you, but you're gonna say, well, I'm just gonna keep eating this poison until I can go grow my own garden. But never actually having a plan to grow your garden. So every 4 years, we're just gonna push whatever we need back just to get whoever is in office at the time out of office, or to keep whoever is in office at the time in the office because the other person is so bad, even though the person in office is bad himself. But that's a sick game, right? When they talk about the politics of America, there's a reason why when they talk about black politics is a whole separate question, is a whole separate issue. We never was supposed to be a part of America, and we've never been fully incorporated in America. The question for America is what to do with the damn Negroes that they brought over here. So what are we gonna do? Vote for who idea we like better? Right? At least this person don't want to ship us back to Africa, right? They may want to lock us up and keep us in chains and keep us in this terrible state, but at least they don't want to ship us back to Africa. Well, how about instead of focusing on other people's politics, we focus on our own politics? How about we create our own organizations, right? But that's the problem with America. That's the terrorist threat to America. Voting isn't the terrorist threat. Voting isn't what we like to think is our power, because we don't have any power to leverage. We're subject to somebody else's system, to somebody else's rules, right? How can we leverage any kind of power if we can't get somebody who shoots somebody on camera put in jail? Right? In the video that I just did, that's about to come up in a little while. This little 11-year-old girl, I'm pretty sure some of y'all heard the story, got hit in the head with a pipe by this racist little white boy. And all they want to say is it has nothing to do with race, even though this white boy was sitting there calling her nigga and all of that. But you would tell me, I can't have an opinion about that if I don't vote. Well, you know what? Y'all already know how bad Donald Trump is. Well, guess what? Joe Biden been doing it for 47 years. He was against segregation. And guess what? He probably would have been right if he got his way. We probably would have been better off if his segregation policies worked out. This dude said I know we're responsible for the conditions they're in. Not we should create mental programs to help us, because we all suffer from some level of Stockholm syndrome, right? Some more than others, but we all suffer from it, and it affects us all. The way we relate to each other, our relationships between, romantic relationships, our friendships, all of that is affected by the system of white supremacy. I talk about the bloodshed because that's the most that's what gets people the most riled up. But we should be mad about every single part of it. And we can go back through every stage of America. Even when they promise you something, what makes you think they're going to give it to you? And I heard people say, because Ice Cube said, well, the Democrats said, we're not even going to listen to you until after the election. And the amount of people that's okay with that is scary. But when he said the Republicans were at least willing to listen to him, then they start talking about, well, what makes you think they're gonna do what they say? But if somebody's telling you, well, we're not even going to address it until after the election, you're willing to listen to them? Either that's an agenda or that's a sickness. Now, the stuff that the black Republicans say, and most people would call them coons, right? In a lot of cases, they are. But what they say about the Democratic Party is true. It's just the problem is they won't admit that racism in the Republican Party. But I mean, we can look at America's history of presidents from the very first one to the very last one. There has never been one with a black agenda. Even the presidents. What's going on, brother Bakari? Yeah, definitely, man. I'm back, yo. Right, from we had slave owning presidents, right? People try to big up presidents like Abraham Lincoln, even though he was as racist as anybody else in this time. And I don't know if y'all heard, but Germany just approved the Jewish people more reparations just for their COVID situation, right? Because they're quote unquote having a hard time adjusting. Now, this is the Holocaust, but Black Wall Street was a Holocaust in itself. Rosewood was a Holocaust in itself. Right? I can name situation after situation. It was all a Holocaust in itself. Right? And and the thing is that people's talking about cancel Ice Cube. It's CNN talking about cancel Ice Cube. And anybody who's saying that, you have to be aware of them. Either they're politically not aware or they have an agenda. At the end of the day, we are all we got. And no, I'm gonna put the number up. I'm gonna take some calls. Mm. All right. Yeah, the number is 804 601 4015. Yeah. But yeah, I gotta fix it. I ain't do it right now. But yeah, that's the number 804-601-4015. Y'all can call in and voice your opinion. But everybody talks about how the Republican Party is so bad, as if the Democratic Party is any better, right? There is a specific benign neglect policy to give you just enough to keep you in your situation, but not enough to change it. Because white supremacy is defined by black inferiority. And they can tell you all they want that white supremacy is over, this doesn't exist, right? And you have all of these white groups out here talking about fighting white supremacy and really just police brutality. But police brutality is one symptom of white supremacy, a symptom that has to be done away with, right? We can't afford any more casualties. But they don't want to see the end of this system. That's why they're still telling you to vote, participate in the system, right? But they'll know when you like, okay, we're not voting until we making our own political moves, not just making demands, but having your own politicians to make those demands a reality. You can't go to your enemy and expect them to help you. They're always going to lie to you. George Washington told black people, if you help me fight against Britain, I will give you freedom. And then he passed the Fugitive Slave Act and put even more people at risk, because now free black people were being kidnapped and sent into slavery, especially children. Every politician America has ever had has lied to you. And every time America has needed something, America has come to you to get it. Every single war, America was losing until they had black people come in. Abraham Lincoln didn't do anything but take George Washington's blueprint. He was losing to the South. And so he said, we'll give black people a chance to get freedom so they'll fight with us. But that was not his intention, and he never freed anybody. Exactly. And there's a reason why they're so against Ice Cube, because he's not just going to jump on the bandwagon of Joe Biden, somebody who's telling you you're not even black if you don't vote for him, but also somebody who told you he don't care why you are like you are. He just wants you away from his mom and his drug addict son. He knows that this system that has been created, he helped create, right, over 40 some years. He knows that system has destroyed you, but we're not going to offer you any resources to help you. We're just going to put you in jail and throw away the key. But, after 40 some years, he magically changed in 2007, 2008. But, they understand that we are not politically savvy enough. We, and it's no, and we shouldn't be ashamed of that, because we have to understand the real situation and what we've been in. We have not been allowed to read, write, know anything about ourselves for longer than we've been able to go to public schools, right? They would have gouged our eyes out for reading longer than we could have went to Harvard, right? So it's no shame, but we have to recognize the situation that we're in, and we have to start recognizing it and learning, and then building our own political systems. Because guess what? We're in a position where we can create whatever we want to create. They may have destroyed a lot of history, but we're in a position where we can create whatever kind of system we want to create. however we want to handle elections, what kind of laws we want to have. But it starts with self-confidence. And the reason why we depend on our enemy is because they beat that self-confidence out of us. And again, it's nothing to be ashamed of, because the things that they did to us, everything you can imagine and things that you cannot imagine, they have done to us. And it's no mistake that we are in the position that we are in. It's no mistake that we don't understand how to build our own, because when you are bombarded with nothing but images of black being bad, black meaning negative, every black man is a murderer, a rapist, a pimp, a drug dealer, or whatever. That's the only images we see. Every black woman is a prostitute, a liar. And then we wonder why we can't trust each other. We're looking at each other through the lens of white supremacy, right? When that black man is coming down the street, God forbid if he have dreads, he can have nothing but a white tee on. We're looking at him through the same eyes as a white supremacist, right? And you probably clutching your purse a little bit tighter. But that's hundreds of years of psychological programming. So when this brother actually stood up for himself, right? And unlike Nick Cannon, who had to go on an apology tour, I doubt that Ice Cube is going to apologize for his stance, because he's absolutely right. We always want to involve other people in our struggle because we don't feel like we are enough. We don't have enough faith or courage in ourselves. We don't think we are enough on our own to matter. But that's nothing but the self-esteem that has been beaten into us. That's why celebrities like Nick Cannon have to go out and apologize. But I'll go ahead and say it because I don't think the brother Ice Cube will. I think the brother, he's a man enough to stand on what he said. Now, we can go through the whole history of both, parties, right? And just like, I'm not even going to say Democrat and Republican because they switch places and really is interchangeable. But like they said, the North and the South, that was really the Republicans and Democrats, right? The people in the North who were supposedly on our side, they were the ones responsible for stuff like the Devil's Punch Bowl, where thousands and thousands of black men and women and children were killed, tortured, all of that. We don't realize we don't have any friends, right? And by the way, make sure y'all subscribe to the backup channel, the Forecast Radio 24. Right after this, we're gonna have a live premiere. I'm pretty sure YouTube is gonna take my video off because they took the last like 2 or 3 videos off. So make sure y'all tune in to the live premiere on the Forecast Radio 24 right after this. But on one of the videos, I talked about, this brother who surrounded himself with white people, right? He had a white wife, mixed children, all white friends, but he ended up murdered. And his body was found being burned in a ditch. And do you know what the first thing the authorities said? They didn't have any suspects. They didn't have any information. They didn't know anything. But the first thing they said is it has nothing to do with race. It's not race motivated. Right? Also in that video, right, a little black girl who was attacked by this racist little thug white boy who called her racial slurs. But the first thing they said is it had nothing to do with race. Because if they admit that, they'll have to admit America is racist. And really, since World War II, America has been trying to put on this facade that America is not really racist. Right? And we all know about the stories about how the black soldiers were treated when they came back from the war, fighting for the damn freedoms that they couldn't enjoy themselves. Right? We know what happened to people like, eventually, like in the later wars, Muhammad Ali. But America has always tried to present this image that they are the saviors of the world. They are the most pure in the world. But the world understands the relationship between them and black people. They understand what we've been through. But the world also understands that they benefit as long as we're on the bottom and we're looking to be friends with everybody else. But we don't take into account that, the very people who are using us, right? They are doing that to maintain a certain level of position of control. If there was an organization designed to help us, to benefit us, that organization would be deemed a threat, a terrorist organization, and be shut down. Every organization that has ever tried to help us has been shut down. And you still have organizations like the NAACP around. But people realized back during World War II that the NAACP wasn't really there for us. Because that image that they tried to show, right, you end up having the civil rights movement be birthed out of that. And this is where, we don't understand how their politics work. Integration, we think we are the ones that fought for integration. Integration was nothing but a counter move to stop the Black Power movement. Because around the time Stokely Carmichael started coming out, right, people got tired of Martin Luther King way of getting beat up. They said, well, if they're going to take us out, we're going to take somebody out with us. And that's when they start passing those voter registration acts. So this time around, when people are getting fed up, you got somebody like Donald Trump in office. Right now, you have white organizations that are doing the rioting, but they're keeping the rioting into the Black neighborhoods. They aren't going after certain businesses. But if we want to be politically organized, politically aware, we have to start meeting with each other, coming up with strategies, right? And instead of other people controlling our organizations, we control our own, right? Because it don't matter about any kind of election if each neighborhood goes to the store where you have, somebody who's an outsider there with the store making money off the people, whether they be Asian, Arab, whatever, right? And you can go in that store as a unit, as a collective, and say you got 48 hours to get out of here. And it don't even have to be on no gangster stuff. We're gonna say, well, nobody's shopping in here, so you're not gonna make any money. You're gonna go out of business, and then you take over that property. But as long as we're fighting to get pieces of paper with dead presidents of slave owners, of people who would have killed us, and we kill each other to get it, they know that we're not politically aware. As long as we try to explain racism to the enemy, the people who created the racism, they understand we're not politically aware. So somebody like Ice Cube saying, well, both parties is kind of suspect, and he's a celebrity, somebody who would listen to, and he's actually making sense. Well, now this is a threat. We're going to have to get people to blackball him, to cancel him, to whatever. And there are people who are actually saying, well, I agree with what Ice Cube said, but he should have just waited till after the election. Well, what is the point? Why would you wait to voice your opinion until after the fact? That shows me that you're really not trying to change anything. Because you cannot tell me that you really think Joe Biden isn't any less racist than Donald Trump. I mean, you can go down the line. And the fact that you still have to put your faith in a white savior shows that you don't have the faith in yourself. And to tell somebody that if you don't flat out endorse Joe Biden, then you're supporting Trump, it's a weak tactic. And really, you are the one that's pushing a racist onto everybody else, not the other way around. Because not one time did Ice Cube endorse Donald Trump. In fact, he said both parties are terrible. And that is a fact. And by the way, anybody could call. I'm not even sure if the number is still working. So, anybody could call in. I'm not gonna be on here too much longer. I wanna we're gonna have the live stream coming up in a few. So make sure y'all subscribe to the Forecast Radio 24. It's in the description. And I definitely got a shout out to my sister Wanda. She always show love. I told her I was gonna show her love because she always holds it down. But we have people out here, pushing it, especially a certain demographic. And I don't want to say it, but the truth is, the children of the civil rights movement is probably the only generation of black people that didn't understand exactly who the enemy was, who suffered the most from the illusion of inclusion. And it's not their fault. It's not. And when you look at the history, when when Thurgood Marshall was fighting for integration, right? White people didn't want us in our schools so bad. They had agreed to equal funding because that's what it really was about. It was not about going to school, white people. It was not about assimilating into their culture. It was about getting funding. And you have to understand, they were in schools that had no plumbing, no air, no heat. They had no books. They had to teach out of Jet magazine, right? And Jet magazine did have Black history in it at the time. But still, to teach out of Black history, or to teach your class out of a Jet magazine, that's a problem. And of course, all of the funding, just like today, because it's no different, right? You look at the inner city schools, despite as much as you vote, they don't get the funding as the county schools. And of course, they were going to have to fight for it, but they fought to get integrated into their schools. But they were willing to accept or at least pay black people equally to fund the schools. But Thurgood Marshall said, no, we want, the only way there could be equal is for black people to go into white schools. And eventually, he won the case. But not only did this hurt our children, we send our kids to school every day to learn from white women, right? Some of the biggest perpetrators of white supremacy who like to play both sides, and we like to give them a pass for playing both sides. But they are some of the biggest perpetrators of white supremacy, yet we send our kids to school to learn from them. And they come home thinking that Christopher Columbus discovered America. They come home not knowing anything about Marcus Garvey, right? And we don't take the time to teach them otherwise, right? And not only did it hurt them, now they don't have those black teachers anymore, right? There used to be black men who were teachers, black women who were teachers. Now it's mostly white women. And now we don't learn anything about economics. We don't learn anything about politics. We learn how to be workers in a society that was designed for us to be workers in. And the difference now is we may make $15 or $20 more than our ancestors made when they was enslaved. But overall, generally, we're not getting the land that we need because it's systematically designed to keep it that way. We're not getting the education. We're not getting the resources we need. We're not getting the mental health that we need so that we can have better relationships. Because you have better relationships, you have stronger family units, you have stronger families, you have a stronger community. You have a community, you have a nation. If you have a nation, you're going to have an army to protect you wherever you are. But the enemy knows they are globally outnumbered. And if we were to ever get on code, that white supremacy could never last. So they got to keep us divided and conquered and break us down to every single compound. And that way they can control us and keep us fighting to be a part of their system that does nothing but kill us in every single way. Now, everybody knows about the Dred Scott case, but has there ever been anything to overturn that? Has there ever been a law or a Supreme Court ruling that says you aren't less than human? You don't have to obey what a white man tells you. Matter of fact, has the Casual Killing Act that was passed before America was ever created, has that ever been overturned? Because I can tell you right now, if they say you're resisting, they can put their knee on your neck and choke you out. But, this is the system that we are fighting to be a part of. And you're saying that my vote matters, but if I say justice for Breonna Taylor, that don't matter. Right? I would give up my vote for black people being murdered on the street. Right? That's worth my vote. But if I know that, down the line, I may or may not get to you, when really I already know that they're not going to get to you. And if they ever get to you, it's going to be something to hurt you. It's going to be something at your detriment because they need you in that position. White supremacy is defined by black inferiority. And it doesn't mean you're inferior. It's just classic projection, right? Never forget, they are the ones that had to come and get us because they couldn't do the work to build America, to build this, to build whatever nation this is. They tried 4 or 5 times, and every time they tried, they died off. They weren't successful until they started kidnapping us and having us do it. Right? They would have lost every single war until they came to you begging for your help. And you helped them every single time. And they lied to you every single time. Never forget, we are the only group to ever pick ourselves up by our bootstraps. What do you think Black Wall Street was? What do you think they did? They were hated so much. People didn't want their money, so they just spent it with themselves. And it wasn't just Black Wall Street, because segregation wasn't just in Oklahoma. It was all over America. And it's no accident that 99% of those places are destroyed today. It's no accident. And it's not just by destruction like Black Wall Street. It's by stuff like the Highway Act. And these are Democratic presidents, where they build highways right through the economic district in the Black community. But it's all done on purpose, because both sides is meant, their job is to keep the system in place, but it's our job as a group to destroy the system, because we cannot ever get justice as long as this system exists. And that's the bottom line. We don't have any other choice. And we cannot let them control our movements. We cannot let them make our slogans. We cannot let them control the media. And that's the problem. The internet has changed the game. They were never let you listen to something like this or anybody else who says something like this. But that's the reason why we have to create our own platforms, so that YouTube can't take my videos off or anybody else's videos off, so that we can spread our message, so that we can build our own politics instead of trying to be a part of somebody else's politics. Because as long as you're trying to be a part of somebody else's politics, that shows you don't have enough confidence in yourself and you're unaware. And the moment that you know you're unaware, they're going to try to take your right to vote away. There's a reason why they still vote for your right to vote. And there's a reason why they still give it to you. And notice there, all of those reports, like the Moynihan report and all of that, they came out literally like a year or two after the civil rights laws was passed. Right? They were predicting, telling you what they were going to do. They were going to destroy the Black family again, because the Black family had gotten too strong. These Negroes might actually stand up on their own. And as much as they tell you to go back to Africa, if we ever did, they'll be back over there within 10 years to try to kidnap us again. That's why this time we're going to have to learn how to protect what we build, because believe me, they are going to come. But anybody want to call in, I'm not going to be on here too much longer. The video should be up by, I'm on the East Coast, but it should be like 10 o'clock East Coast time. So make sure y'all subscribe to the backup video. I mean to the backup channel. But yeah, I just had to show my brother Ice Cube some support, because and not that he needs it, because the brother has no problem standing up on his own and meaning what he says. Right? He has no issue standing on his words. And no disrespect to Nick Cannon, I understand his position, but that's something that you can learn from. Right? He ain't gonna back down from what he said, and he shouldn't back down from what he said. It's time for us to start being selfish. And the only reason why we aren't selfish is because we lack the confidence to be selfish. We think we need to stand on somebody else's shoulders when the whole time everybody been standing on our shoulders. Right? You look at the Jewish group, they got reparations. Asians, they got reparations. Right? Arabs, they get all kinds of stuff when they come. Right? Being white in America has always been reparations. But what did anybody give you to build Black Wall Street? Who did you vote for to get Black Wall Street? Or did you realize there was no illusion of inclusion and we were all we had? So we had to support each other. We had to elect our own leaders. And if you look at history, every Black leader that has tried to stand up for Black people and never waver, they have tried to remove, not just kill them, they tried to remove them from history. I mean, from Nat Turner to Madison Washington to Harriet Tubman, right, to Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, right? The FBI was created to stop Marcus Garvey. Well, at least that's what J. Edgar Hoover got his start over. But he created the FBI to stop the Black Messiah. But do you know what the Black Messiah is? The Black Messiah is Black unity. Us being on code. Us understanding what being on code is. And being on code doesn't mean we all vote for which races that we rather have. Being on code means, like, those videos where you see those white women, no matter what they do, right? They could be stealing, they could be hitting somebody. The moment when somebody defends themselves, all of a sudden, all the other white people will come around and surround her and protect her. That is staying on code. And the video that's about to come up, that again, y'all subscribe to the Forecast Radio 24. I'm about to get up off here because the live premiere should be on soon. But just like in that video, the 12-year-old boy hit this little girl in the head with a pole, and they put him on house arrest, right? And instead of charging him, they said, well, we don't want him to go through juvenile and have a record before he graduates. Meanwhile, y'all telling us to vote for a person who passed laws that led to countless Black men, especially, but Black people having records before they even graduated, if they graduated at all. And this is who you're telling us to vote for. But, at the end of the day, we have to start growing up politically. We have to start growing up with each other, providing our own mental health so that we can heal ourselves, so that we can connect with each other. We can build relationships with each other. We can build businesses. We can build communities. Because it doesn't take an election for us to build something like a community garden. Don't take elections for us to create an organization where if we want to vote for something, we can vote for the most successful Black business people and put them in charge of funding and helping grow Black businesses. And we can put those businesses in our neighborhoods, and then and in return for supporting them, they can hire us. But we don't need somebody else's politics to do that. But what we will need is trust in each other. Not only trust to build it, but trust to protect it. Because as long as somebody knows they can come in your community and harm you and get away with it, they're going to keep doing it. Especially when they know we got to come begging to them for justice. But we're so busy telling each other, you know, well, we got to get Trump out of office to get, then worry about it 4 years from now. But 4 years from now, you're going to be saying, we got to keep Biden in office or we got to get this other person in office. We can wait on our needs. Because you've been saying this since 1865. And, you know, don't be confused. You've been able to vote since 1865. Black men, anyway. Black women were the last group to vote, be able to vote in America. Yet, Black women's vote has probably the biggest effect in America. Meanwhile, white women can classify themselves as minority, even though they're the largest voting bloc and the largest group in America, period. But they call themselves minority. But we're all okay with the people of color, minority, all of that stuff that Democrats have historically pushed. All of that stuff didn't exist until civil rights. Now all of a sudden it was people of color. First we was colored people. First we were just the coloreds, right? But as soon as the civil rights, it was a bunch of people of color, including white women. But you know, man, it is what it is, man. I just gotta shout out to what's going on, Moki. Yo, make sure y'all subscribe to the Forecast Radio 24. I'm about to get up off of here because it should be coming up in a few minutes. So make sure y'all subscribe. I know they're gonna probably take that video off. But I'm gonna be back on here in a few days. Um, what's today? Thursday. Uh, let's say I'll be back on Saturday, and you know, I want to talk about you know, I'm not sure if y'all saw what happened with Bill Burr and the Saturday Night Live thing, and how white women got offended, how he got called out or whatever. But you know, we can talk about that. I'm gonna make sure the phone lines is straight. I'm not sure if y'all can call in or not. Yeah, what's going on, Pastor? I appreciate you. What's going on, Black man? Yeah, definitely, man. I had to take care of some stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to work on this book that's hopefully get out soon. And I had to take care of some family stuff, but you know, we definitely back. So, you know, make sure y'all keep an eye out on Saturday. Make sure y'all subscribe to the Forecast Radio 24. You know, because the live premiere is coming up in a few minutes. That's why I'm about to get up off here. So, you know, I can check out the live premiere for YouTube, take it down. So, but I wanted to come on here and show show support for the brother Ice Cube, you know, and we as a people have to stop acting scary, bro. Like, we are all we got. At the end of the day, we can run away from it as much as we want, but until we face that fact, then the same thing is going to keep happening. And we're going to keep wondering why we don't get justice. It's because we don't trust ourselves. We don't have faith in ourselves. But, you know, it is what it is, man. I'm going to see y'all over on the other channel in a few minutes, man. I appreciate all of y'all for showing me love, for showing me support through this time right here. And I got a shout out to the sister Wanda. She always been showing me support for months and months. So man, I got a shout out to the sister. Hopefully she listening. But I mean, I shout out to all of y'all, man, for real. I appreciate all the support. You know, I'm back in a good space right now, so you know, we gonna keep it pushing. So, you know, I appreciate all y'all, man. Much love, man. But As always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're gonna keep falling for anything.